The waves roared like a beast unchained, swallowing the screams of two small boys as their mother's hands shoved them from the jagged cliff into the black abyss below. "You're better off dead than like this," she hissed through tears and thunder, her face twisted in a mask of shame and fury that would haunt her final breaths. In that instant, as salt water filled their lungs and the world went dark, brothers Alex and Jamie Sinclair learned that love could drown faster than a body in the Pacific. It was 1998, and the Oregon coast was a graveyard of secrets under slate-gray skies. Eleanor Sinclair had always been a woman teetering on the edge, widowed young after a logging accident claimed her husband, left to raise her twins in a clapboard house in Astoria, where the Columbia River met the sea like old enemies colliding. The town was the kind of place where fishermen mended nets by dawn and whispered about those kinds over coffee at the bait shop. Eleanor worked doubles at the cannery, her hands raw from gutting salmon, her heart rawer from the rumors that followed her boys. Alex and Jamie were 8, mirror images in their freckled faces and unruly chestnut hair. Alex with a sharper jaw, Jamie softer around the eyes. They were inseparable, the way twins often are, building forts from driftwood and sharing secrets under the covers with a flashlight's glow. It started innocently enough. A school play where they held hands a beat too long during a scene about explorers, or the time Jamie drew 2 stick figures kissing under a heart, labeling it, "Me and Alex Forever." Whispers turned to stares, then to Eleanor's frantic calls to the pastor, begging for prayers to fix what she saw as a family curse. The breaking point came on a Friday night after a church potluck. A neighbor, old Mrs. Hargrove, cornered Eleanor in the kitchen, Bible in hand. "Your boys, they're not right, Ellie. The devil's in 'em." Eleanor drove home in a daze, the radio crooning some country ballad about lost love. She found Alex and Jamie in the backyard, play-acting a wedding with wildflowers and bottle caps for rings. Laughter died on her lips as rage boiled over. Rage at God, at her dead husband for leaving her alone, at a world that branded her sons before they could tie their own shoes. That night, as a storm battered the coast, Eleanor bundled them into her rusted Ford pickup. "We're going for a drive," she said, voice flat as the rain-slicked road. The boys, sensing the storm in her eyes, clung to each other in the back seat, whispering promises of adventure. But when she veered onto the winding path to Ecola State Park, the cliffs looming like silent judges, fear clawed into their chests. At the overlook, wind howled through the pines, whipping her coat like a flag of surrender. She dragged them from the truck, their small hands icy in hers. "Mama, it's scary," Jamie whimpered, but she didn't hear. Lightning cracked the sky, illuminating the roiling sea 200 feet below. "This is mercy," she muttered, more to herself than them. With a guttural cry, she pushed, first Jamie, who tumbled over the edge with a wail, then Alex, who fought just long enough to lock eyes with her, pleading. They plummeted, bodies twisting in the air, crashing into foam and rock. Eleanor staggered back to the truck, vomiting into the gravel. She drove to the sheriff's office at dawn, soaked and shaking, spinning a tale of a tragic accident. Boys wandering too close to the edge during the storm, her too slow to stop them. The town mourned with her. Funerals without bodies, casseroles piling on the porch. But guilt was a tide that never receded. 2 months later, alone in that empty house, Eleanor swallowed a bottle of pills, leaving a note. "Forgive me, I couldn't save you from yourselves. The sea, that merciless cradle, didn't claim them after all." Jamie washed up on a rocky beach near Cannon Beach, half drowned, ribs cracked, saved by a jogger who heard his faint cries amid the gulls. No ID, no memory beyond fragments. A woman's scream, a brother's hand slipping from his. The state dubbed him John Doe Jr., shuttled him to foster care in Portland. A kind couple, the Millers, adopted him at 9, renaming him James Miller. He grew into a quiet teen, excelling at soccer to outrun the nightmares, burying the ache of loss under layers of normalcy. Portland's rainy streets became his refuge, but at night, he dreamed of salt and shadows, a twin he couldn't name. Alex fared worse. His body snagged on a kelp bed miles south, near Tillamook, rescued by a commercial fisherman hauling crab pots at first light. Hypothermic, lacerated, he babbled in the ER about a bad mama and a brother named Jay. Social services pieced him into Alexander Doe, placing him with a strict aunt in Seattle who believed in tough love and church every Sunday. She renamed him Alex Reed, drilling into him that boys didn't cry, didn't question, didn't love wrong. Seattle's fog mirrored his fogged mind. He threw himself into books and debate club, a straight-A student with a hollow core. Puberty brought confusion, stolen glances at teammates in the locker room, a kiss behind the bleachers with a boy from art class that ended in fists and shame. By 18, Alex fled to San Francisco, the city of fog-shrouded freedoms, chasing whispers of a life where he could breathe. He crashed on couches in the Castro, waitering at a diner called the Golden Gate Grind, where rainbow flags fluttered like promises. That's where he met Ryan. Ryan O'Malley was everything Alex wasn't. Broad-shouldered Irish-American with a laugh like summer thunder. A tattoo artist in the Mission District whose needle etched stories into skin. Dragons for the fierce, anchors for the lost. They collided over spilled coffee one rainy afternoon, Ryan's steady hand catching Alex's elbow. "You look like you could use a real cup," Ryan said, green eyes crinkling. Alex, flustered, stammered something about shifts and storms. By week's end, they were tangled in Ryan's loft above the shop. Not in bedsheets but in conversations that stretched till dawn. About hidden selves, family ghosts, the ache of loving against the grain. Ryan was out and proud, raised by a single dad in Oakland who flew the pride flag year-round. He saw the shadows in Alex's eyes, the way he'd flinch at mentions of mothers or seas. "You're safe here," Ryan murmured one night, tracing the faint scar on Alex's temple from that cliffside fall. Alex wanted to believe him, but trust was a shipwreck he'd never salvaged. Meanwhile, in Portland, Jamie, now James Miller, had built walls of his own. At 25, he was a barista by day, amateur photographer by night, capturing the Willamette's moody waters in black and white frames. He'd come out at 20, after a fumbling relationship with a college roommate that crashed like waves on jetty rocks. Portland's queer scene welcomed him. Drag brunches, poetry slams, but love eluded him, always one ghost away. He dated sporadically. A musician who ghosted, a teacher too wounded to stay. Deep down, he searched faces for an echo of his lost twin, though he'd long convinced himself it was a fever dream. Fate, that sly current, began to stir in the summer of 2025. Alex, scrolling ancestry sites on a whim during a slow shift, Ryan's idea, to fill in the blanks, babe, uploaded a DNA sample from a cheek swab. Matches trickled in. Distant cousins in the Midwest, a great-aunt in Boston. Then a bombshell, a 98% sibling match. James Miller, Portland, Oregon. Heart hammering, Alex drove north that weekend. Ryan shotgun with a mixtape of indie folk to steady the nerves. They met at a coffee shop on Burnside, neutral ground. Jamie arrived early, fidgeting with his camera strap, the email printout crumpled in his pocket. When Alex walked in, taller now, lean from city hustles, that same jawline sharpened by years, time fractured. Jamie's coffee cup slipped, shattering on the tile. "Jay?" Alex whispered, voice cracking like thunder over water. They talked for hours, piecing the impossible. The storm, the shove, the sea's mercy. Hospital records, adoption files unearthed by frantic calls. Their mother, Eleanor, hadn't lied about the accident. But the truth was uglier, buried in her suicide note, released now by a sympathetic clerk. "She was broken," Jamie said, tears carving paths down his cheeks. "Scared of what we were." Alex nodded, the weight lifting and crushing in equal measure. "She threw us away because we loved each other too much, even as kids." That night, over takeout in Jamie's tiny apartment overlooking the river, they laughed through sobs, reclaiming stolen years. Ryan joined via video call, his easy charm bridging the gap. "Family's what you build after the flood," he said. And for the first time, Alex felt anchored. But reconciliation's tide pulls hard. Back in San Francisco, doubts crept in. Ryan noticed Alex's distance, the late nights staring at old photos Jamie had mailed. Faded Polaroids of Astoria beaches. "You're grieving a ghost," Ryan confronted one evening, ink-stained hands gentle on Alex's shoulders. "But I'm real. Don't let the past drown us." Alex pulled away, the betrayal stinging. Not Ryan's, but his mother's, and his own for surviving without looking back. He drove to the coast alone, standing on that same cliff at Akola, waves gnashing below like accusations. Was forgiveness a lie? Had the sea given him back only to test him? The climax crashed 2 weeks later. Jamie called, voice shattered. A letter from Eleanor's estate, forwarded after decades. Inside, not just the suicide note, but a confession, pages torn from a journal. She discovered their father's old letters, hinting at his own hidden truths. A love he'd buried in the closet of 1970s America. Eleanor's rage wasn't just homophobia. It was projection, terror of the cycle repeating. "I threw you in to save you from me," she wrote. "From becoming monsters like your pa and me." Jamie wanted to scatter her ashes there, on the cliff, a final goodbye. Alex agreed, but en route, a storm rolled in, echo of that night, lightning forking the sky. At the overlook, wind howling. They read her words aloud, voices mingling with the gale. Betrayal burned. She'd robbed them of a father they never knew, a mother who might have healed. Jamie hurled the journal pages into the surf, screaming, "You don't get to decide our end." Alex caught his arm, pulling him back from the edge. Irony's cruel twist. "She did this, but we're here. We decide the rest." In the downpour, brothers embraced, salt mingling with rain. Ryan arrived just then, having tracked Alex's phone, his truck's headlights cutting the dark. He didn't speak, just wrapped them both in his coat, a triad against the tempest. The impossible had given them back. Not just to each other, but to life unlived. Months blurred into healing. Therapy in group circles at the Castro's Community Center, where queer survivors swapped stories like lifelines. Alex and Ryan deepened. Rings exchanged in a quiet ceremony on Baker Beach, waves lapping gentle now. Jamie found love too, with a photographer named Eli, their shared lens capturing Portland's pride parades in vibrant bursts. Eleanor's ashes stayed with the sea, but her sons? They walked inland, hands linked. Not in the innocence of childhood, but in the hard-won wisdom of men who drowned and risen. In America's vast heart, from coast to city, they built what she'd shattered. A legacy of love, unthrowable, unbreakable. The drive back from Akola lingered in Alex's bones like sea spray on skin. Sticky, inescapable. San Francisco welcomed him with its familiar hum. Cable cars clanging up Hyde Street, the scent of sourdough wafting from Boudin Bakery. Rainbow crosswalks faded but defiant underfoot. Ryan was waiting at the loft, takeout burritos from Taqueria Cancun steaming on the counter, a six-pack of Anchor Steam chilling in the fridge. "Missed you, storm chaser," he said, pulling Alex into a hug that smelled of ink and sage smudge. Alex melted into it, but the words stuck. "Jamie. He's like a piece I forgot I lost." They ate on the fire escape, city lights twinkling below like distant lighthouses. Ryan listened as Alex unpacked the journal's revelations. Their father's secret letters, postmarked from Seattle, confessing an affair with a man during his logging days up north. "He died thinking we hated him," Alex said, voice raw. "And Mom, she saw us playing house and thought we were him reborn. Cursed." Ryan set down his fork, eyes steady. "Cursed? Nah, that's just human mess. You two survived a goddamn tidal wave. That's holy." He cupped Alex's face, thumb brushing the scar. "But don't let it pull you under again. We've got a life here. Our life." Sleep came fitful, dreams of cliffs morphing into tattoo needles etching waves across his chest. By morning, resolve hardened. Alex texted Jamie. "Road trip? Unfinished business." Jamie replied instantly, "Hell yes. Portland to Astoria. Brothers' pilgrimage." They met at the Oregon border, Jamie's beat-up Subaru loaded with a cooler of IPAs and a playlist of Bruce Springsteen. Eleanor's favorite, a reluctant olive branch. The coastal highway unspooled like a film reel. Cannon Beach's haystack rock looming monolithic, seaside's arcade lights flickering nostalgic. They talked non-stop, filling silos of silence. Jamie's foster parents, kind but distant, pushing him toward manly sports. Alex's aunt, whose Bible studies masked her own widow's loneliness. At a pullout near Hug Point, they parked, boots crunching on tide pools. Jamie pulled out his camera, snapping Alex against the basalt, wind tousling his hair. "You look like Dad," he said softly, showing the shot. Alex peered at the screen, seeing echoes in the jaw, the eyes, a stranger's face in his own. That night in Astoria, they checked into the Cannery Pier Hotel, a nod to Eleanor's old life. The room overlooked the Columbia, freighters gliding like ghosts. Over room service clam chowder, Jamie cracked open the journal again, pages water-stained from the storm. "Listen to this," he read Eleanor's scrawl unsteady. "The boys laughed today, building sandcastles with moats deep as my regrets. What if they're just boys? What if I made them monsters by fearing them?" Alex's throat tightened. She loved us, in her broken way. Jamie nodded, but doubt flickered. Then why the shove? Why not fight? Because fighting meant admitting she was wrong. And she couldn't. They clinked bottles, toasting absent parents, to survival's sharp edges. Dawn brought the house. Eleanor's clabbered relic, now a rental, vines choking the porch like veins. The landlord let them in, awkward with keys. Inside, time hung suspended. Faded wallpaper of sailboats, a kitchen table scarred from family dinners. In the boys' old room, bunk beds sagged under dust, a toy truck abandoned mid-race. Jamie knelt, fingers tracing initials carved into the frame. A&J forever. "We were gonna conquer the world," he whispered. Alex joined him, memory flooding. Nights whispering dreams of sailing to Hawaii, away from the town's prying eyes. But the pilgrimage cracked open old wounds. Driving back, Jamie confessed over a stop at the Tillamook Creamery, cones dripping vanilla. "Foster mom, Mrs. Miller, she told me I was special. Like it excused the whole. But I dated this guy last year, Theo, and it felt safe. Till he bailed when I got too clingy. Like loving me's a risk." Alex gripped the wheel tighter. "Ryan says the same. Thinks I'm half gone since the reunion. Like you're the twin pulling me back to the deep end." Jamie's laugh was bitter. "We are the deep end." San Francisco's pull grew urgent. Ryan had planned a surprise. Tickets to a queer theater festival in the Castro, Angels in America revival. Angels crashing through ceilings, AIDS-era reckonings that mirrored their own fractured lineage. Alex arrived late, slipping into the seat beside him, the house lights dimming to Tony Kushner's poetry. After over late-night pho at a hole-in-the-wall on 18th Street, Ryan leaned in. "You vanished up there. Talk to me." Alex exhaled, the steam curling like confession. "Jamie's my mirror. Seeing him, it's like staring at what I could have been. Softer, less armored." Ryan's hand found his under the table. "You're not armored with me. Remember Valencia Street? That first kiss in the rain? You were open then." Alex squeezed back, warmth blooming. "I want to be. For us." But conflict brewed like a squall. A week later, Jamie called, voice-edged. "Found something in the attic before we left. Dad's letter, not a copy. The original. Addressed to Mom. Postmarked the day before he died." Alex's pulse thrummed. What did it say? Everything. He was leaving her. For him. Some guy from the crew. Said the boys deserved a father who could love honest. Pause. Heavy. She burned the rest, but the envelope. It mentioned us. "Tell Alex and Jamie I'm sorry for the hiding." Betrayal's knife twisted. Not just Eleanor's, but their father's cowardice. The legacy of closets spanning generations. Alex slammed the phone down, storming to Ryan's shop. The buzz of the needle halted as he burst in, eyes wild. They all lied. Every damn one. Ryan set down the machine, wiping ink from his hands. A client in the chair shifted uncomfortably, but Ryan waved her out. "Sit. Breathe." Words tumbled, The letter, the what-ifs. What if we'd grown up knowing? Not ashamed. Ryan pulled him close, heartbeat steady. You know now. And you're building different, with me, with Jamie. But the hurt festered. Alex canceled shifts, wandered the Embarcadero at dusk. Ferries horn blasting like laments. Ryan gave space, but texts piled. Love you through the wreckage. Jamie drove down unannounced, crashing on their couch. 3 became a fragile unit. Brothers bonding over Giants games at the ballpark. Ryan sketching tattoos of phoenixes rising from waves. One night, beers in hand on the roof, Jamie raised a toast. To impossible returns. Alex clinked, glancing at Ryan's profile, lit by city glow. And to not throwing away the now. Yet climax loomed, inevitable as high tide. A news story broke, local archives digitizing old police reports, Eleanor's accident flagged for inconsistencies. A reporter from the Oregonian called Jamie. New evidence suggests foul play. You boys alive changes everything. Interview. Jamie hung up, panicked. They'll dig. Paint her a monster. Us as victims forever. Alex's jaw set. Or survivors. We tell our side. Ryan nodded. Together. The interview aired from a Portland studio. Brothers side by side. Ryan off-camera gripping Alex's knee. Cameras rolled, questions probing. The shove, the see, the suicide. Jamie spoke first, voice steady. She was drowning too, in fear. But we swam. Alex added, eyes on the lens. Love like ours, it doesn't sink. It pulls you to shore. Viewership spiked, emails flooding, queer kids thanking them, historians citing the case in LGBTQ+ rights timelines. But backlash surged. Online trolls spewing family values vitriol. A distant relative suing for Eleanor's estate, claiming the miracle boys were frauds. Betrayal struck personal. The relative, cousin Harlan from Astoria, cornered Jamie at a family reunion he'd naively attended. Your ma was right to pitch ya. Shame on the town for pitying abominations. Jamie fled, calling Alex in tears. He knew about Dad. Said Mom confessed before the pills. They covered it up, church elders, all of 'em, to protect the family name. Rage propelled Alex north again, Ryan trailing like a loyal squall. At Harlan's bait shop, confrontation exploded. Fists not thrown, but words sharper. You let her rot alone. For what? Secrets. Harlan sneered. World wasn't ready. Still ain't. Ryan stepped in. Calm thunder. It's ready now. Because of them. They left with heads high, but the wound gaped. Back home, Alex paced the loft. Everyone betrayed us. Mom, Dad, the town. Jamie, via video. Not us. We betrayed nothing. Ryan drew him to the window, city pulsing below. Forgive the dead. Fight the living. In that breath, catharsis crested. Alex booked therapy, group for queer trauma survivors where stories wove like nets. Jamie joined remotely, Eli at his side now. Their Portland romance blooming over shared darkrooms and dawn hikes. Ryan proposed that fall on the cliff. Not Ecola's but Muir Woods, redwoods towering like sentinels. Marry me, Alex Reed Sinclair. Let's make a family that doesn't break. Kneeling in leaf litter, ring glinting, simple gold band etched with waves. Alex whispered yes, tears salting the earth. Winter wrapped San Francisco in a rare chill, fog rolling off the bay like unanswered prayers. Alex and Ryan's engagement leaked through the interview's ripple. Congrats from strangers on Instagram, a feature in Out magazine framing their story as waves of resilience. But fame's undertow dragged undercurrents. Paparazzi lurking outside the diner, forcing Alex to quit for a barista gig at a quieter spot in No Valley. I just want normal, he told Ryan one evening, stirring risotto in their kitchen, the scent of garlic and thyme a bomb. Ryan chuckled, chopping parsley. Normal's overrated. But yeah, let's elope to Big Sur. Just us, Jamie, Eli. Ocean views, no cameras. The plan solidified over FaceTime with the brothers. A spring ceremony on Pfeiffer Beach, purple sands and keyhole arch for vows. Jamie, ever the planner, scouted venues. Eli, with his dry wit, quipped, as long as there's craft beer and no cliffs. But under the excitement, fissures lingered. Alex's nightmares resurfaced. Eleanor's face morphing into Harlan's sneer, waves pulling at his ankles. Therapy helped, unpacking the betrayal's layers. Not just the throw, but the erasure, the town that mourned without searching, the system that renamed them without roots. It's like we were ghosts before we even died, Alex journaled one night, Ryan snoring softly beside him. Jamie fared similarly. In Portland, his photography exhibit, Tidal Echoes, debuted to acclaim, prints of churning seas and fractured horizons selling out. But success amplified isolation. Dates with Eli deepened, yet doubts whispered. Can you love without clinging? Eli, a quiet soul with a past of his own, kicked out at 16 for being trans, understood. We're both shipwrecks, he'd say, fingers interlaced over morning coffee. But look, we're floating. Spring bloomed tentative. The brothers drove down together, Subaru packed with suits and Eleanor's journal, now a talisman. Ryan and Eli flew in, the four meeting at a roadside motel in Monterey, laughter echoing as they cracked open a bottle of Pinot Noir. To impossible families, Ryan toasted, clinking with Eli's water glass. Sober 6 months, a quiet victory. Big Sur's highway twisted like veins, cliffs plunging to turquoise coves. At Pfeiffer, the beach was a sanctuary. Waves murmuring approval, seals barking from afar. They hiked the arch at low tide, Jamie snapping candids. Alex and Ryan silhouetted against the keyhole, light piercing like hope. The ceremony was simple, profound. Officiant a local Unitarian minister who'd marched in the 70s Pride parades. Vows exchanged barefoot in the sand. Ryan's voice steady. I promise to be your anchor when the storms come, your sail when the winds call. Alex, choking up. You pulled me from the deep. I'll spend every day diving back in with you. Jamie teared up, Eli's arm around him. As rings slid on, waves etched deep. They kissed under cheers, salt air sealing the bond. Honeymoons stretched lazy. Cabin in the redwoods, hikes to Mickway Falls, misty vales cascading to the sea. But paradise cracked on the third day. A letter arrived, forwarded from Astoria, Harlan, unrepentant, contesting the estate again. Those boys ain't Sinclairs no more. Blood don't lie, but they do. Alex's hands shook reading it aloud to Ryan by the fireplace. He won't stop. Thinks we're the shame. Ryan's jaw clenched. Then we end it. Go public, full story. No more hiding. Back in the city, they rallied. Jamie flew down, Eli in tow. Over pizza at Tony's, Strategy Brewed. A podcast series, Sons of the Sea, hosted by the brothers. Episodes raw, childhood tapes digitized from Eleanor's attic, interviews with the rescuers now elderly, dives into queer history along the coast. Recording began in a Castro studio, mics hot under pendant lights. First EP. The Fall. Jamie's voice opened, October 17th, 1998. Storm warning. Mama's truck headlights cutting the rain. Alex layered in. We held hands, thinking it was a game. Then the edge. Listeners flooded in, queer networks sharing, therapists recommending. Harlan's lawsuit crumbled under scrutiny. A DA reopened Eleanor's case as historical neglect, not crime, but the exposure shamed the town elders into a memorial plaque at Ecola for the lost and found. Yet betrayal's shadow lengthened. During a live Q&A at a Portland Pride event, a heckler shouted from the crowd, Your ma did you a favor. Save the kids from that lifestyle. Eli tensed, but Jamie stepped forward, mic in hand. Lifestyle? It's life. And we lived against the odds you stacked. Alex, on stage, locked eyes with the man. You knew our dad. Hid his truth. That's the real crime. The crowd roared support, but backstage, Jamie collapsed. Panic attack, breaths ragged. Eli held him, murmuring, Breathe with me. Alex and Ryan joined, a huddle of hands. We're the storm now, Ryan said. They can't throw us anymore. Healing deepened post-event. Alex started a nonprofit, Tide Lifters, mentoring queer youth in foster care. Swim lessons literal and figurative, teaching to float when family sinks. Jamie contributed photos, Eli handling outreach with his steady grace. Ryan's art evolved too. A mural on the shop wall, brothers entwined in waves, emerging whole. Clients traced it with fingers, sharing their scars. Summer swelled with milestones. Jamie and Eli moved in together, a loft near the Pearl District with river views. Alex walked Ryan down Powell Street on their anniversary, recreating that first coffee spill, now with rings glinting. But climax crested unexpected. A DNA twist. Their father's lover, Uncle Theo, real name Theodore Lang, alive in a Seattle nursing home, 82 and fading. The podcast unearthed him. A producer's call led to reunion. They drove north, hearts pounding. Theo, frail in a wheelchair by Lake Union, eyes widening at their faces. Like seeing ghosts, he rasped, hands trembling on theirs. Stories poured. Their dad's laughter on fishing trips, the love stolen by fear. He wanted to tell you, but Ellie, she found the letters first. Betrayal's final layer peeled. Theo had tried. Anonymous checks to Eleanor's account post-accident. Guilt's quiet amends. Thought you were gone. Then the news. Miracle boys. They sat till dusk, Theo gifting a locket with their dad's photo. Smiling, unburdened. He'd be proud, Theo whispered, of the men you became. Driving south, tears dried to resolve. No more ghosts, Jamie said. Alex nodded, Ryan's hand in his. Just us. Fall brought harvest. Podcast Emmy nod. Tide Lifter's first gala in the Castro Theater. Chandeliers sparkling over survivors' speeches. Jamie proposed to Eli under Portland's Steel Bridge. Fireworks bursting over the Willamette. Eleanor's birthday passed quiet. A vigil at the cliff, journal pages scattered like confetti. We forgive, Alex said to the waves. Not for you. For us. Humanity's thread wove tighter. Brothers calling weekly, double dates across state lines, holidays blending families. Ryan's boisterous clan from Oakland, Eli's chosen kin from the art scene. In quiet moments, Alex traced Ryan's tattoos, waves mirroring his own scars. What now? He'd ask. Ryan grinned, pulling him close. Now, we live. Full tide. The years unspooled like kelp in the current, steady and deep. By 2030, Alex and Ryan had traded the loft for a Victorian in the Haight-Ashbury. Its gingerbread trim painted rainbow hues, backyard garden bursting with lavender and heirloom tomatoes. Ryan's tattoo empire expanded. A second shop in Oakland, apprentices inking stories of rebirth. Alex helmed Tide Lifters full-time, the org now nationwide, chapters in Miami's Little Havana and Chicago's Boys Town. Saving kids from cliffs both literal and figurative. Jamie and Eli thrived in Portland, gallery shows alternating with fatherhood. A surrogacy journey yielding little River Sinclair Miller, adopted at birth, tiny fists waving like flags of future. Jamie's lens captured it all. River's first steps on the riverbank, Eli's patient smiles amid midnight feedings. Reunions anchored them. Annual pilgrimages to Astoria, now with partners and tots in tow. The old house, bought back with podcast royalties, became a retreat. Bunk beds rebuilt for grandkids-to-be. Eleanor's kitchen alive with clam bakes. Harlan faded to irrelevance. His shop shuttered. The town erecting a pride crosswalk in quiet amends. Betrayal's echoes softened, transmuted in therapy's forge and love's alchemy. Alex's book, Drowned But Dreaming, hit shelves. A memoir weaving journal pages with podcast transcripts. Proceeds funding scholarships. Reviews hailed it. A testament to queer endurance. American as the endless shore. One crisp October, they gathered at Acola, the full circle. River, for now, toddled between uncles, collecting agates in a bucket. Ryan barbecued salmon on a portable grill, Eli strumming guitar tunes of Woody Guthrie. As sun dipped, painting the sea gold, Alex pulled Jamie aside, locket glinting at his throat. Remember the hook? Alex said, grinning. Waves roaring, us screaming. Jamie laughed, clapping his shoulder. Screaming turned to swimming. Look at us. They turned to the horizon, partners calling them to the picnic blanket. Theo had passed that spring peaceful. His ashes mingled with their dad's in a private cove. No more secrets, just stories told bold. Tragedy had struck. Yes, the throw, the drowning, the suicide's shadow. But the impossible? It was them. Brothers reborn from brine. Loves forged in fire. A family not of blood alone but of choice. Relentless as the tide. In America's sprawl, from foggy bays to rainy rivers, they walked unbroken. The sea, once devourer, now whispered lullabies. And in its roar, Eleanor might have heard absolution. Her sons, given back, giving forward. Epilogue whispers. River, grown, inherits the camera, snaps his own horizons. Uncle's toast at his wedding, 2 grooms under Portland stars. To the deep end, Alex says. Jamie winks. And diving in,